Now that I'm getting older, my interests are changing. Things that were fun to me as a younger version of myself has changed. As I ready for the past to me that gets older, my body, my soul, my personality, my jokes, my content all change. I'm growing to realize that a lot of the old hangouts like bookstores are no longer fun, and a lot of them have gone out of business like Barnes and Nobles and Borders. Um, Theaters have lost its appeal with streaming services, um, and stay at home. Oh, and I would say also with prices. So a lot of the prices going up, and then being able to afford the movies as well as going to the theater has just lost a lot of its appeal, and the cost of popcorn and soda pop. I understand it's to make the businesses grow and maintain, but it's harder for lower income individuals like myself to be able to afford that. Um, let's see, even the intention, even with the invention of YouTube content, and being able to stay at home and watch YouTube people instead of focusing on, I guess, big time celebrities now, hoping streamers and hoping small time YouTube accounts succeed and get to the point where they want to fulfill their dreams is more satisfying to me, because it helps somebody meet their goals opposed to a celebrity that you probably will never meet. Then again, the YouTube person you probably never meet in person as well. But it's, I guess, more beneficial to help a small time YouTube content creator than it would be for celebrities already had it made. To go through my rebellion as I did when I was younger has changed with time, grieving the losses and celebrating the wins, although not always easy to deal with, the losses, is a learned experience. The going through a phase told to me I didn't understand until I got older, as a lot of the things that we've gone through and what we liked at that time, we felt like it was crazy somebody to tell us it was a phase. But now that we look back at it, it was a phase. It was a phase where we might have liked, to wear all black or wear goth clothing or wear alternative clothing, stuff that we can't get away with as much. I guess that's debatable, but as much as some of us who are younger would be able to. Um, as me, as an older soul who has grown older, I have learned to kind of try to blend in with the background and, just not stick out as much anymore. To me, that's more comfortable and more safe and more um, satisfying to me than being, sticking out with flamboyant colors and, goth clothes or weird piercings all over the body that mutilate the body. Plus, hiring aspects usually go up, although the job market now is much more difficult. And I would say that's more difficult because of the fact that it's hard to keep a job, it's hard to find a job. The unemployment ratings are sky high now, thanks to new administrations. Um, and also the job rights, they are very protective of a few and not the whole individuals, you know. So, I mean, an employer can get away with protecting one individual and hide behind that and cover up the trail of firing somebody just because they protected that one individual and not seeing the whole picture and claiming to be transparent, only putting up the facade of being transparent when they're not being transparent. Um, let's see. I've learned a lot of this stuff after being harassed by employers, by housing managers, and also by the police. So there's been numerous instances where LGBTQ individuals who are in my own community have harassed me, um, simply for not participating in either the smoke sessions, or they would offer me a beer that was great, and then they want a little bit more, and they were saying a little bit more. I made it very clear to them, like either by walking away, not trying to start a problem, that I didn't want to be part of it. And then they make you out to be the bad guy, or that you're not being inclusive enough to them, when their intention was to get in your pants and treat you like a one night stand and not have anything to do with you later. Which is it's a form of them grooming you to the point where they groom you to get you, and they're not, and then they'll deny it. They'll make you out to be the crazy one. They will slut shame you. They will name call you. They will um, insult you, um, insult your intelligence, um, and they will cover each other's tracks. A lot of times, those individuals will try to look out for each other. Um, they have to raise each other up, or they have to lift each other up. So they'll find their homies and their buddies to protect them. But when it goes to court, sometimes they might bring a friend. But the best thing about court opportunities is you're allowed to bring your own friend and all own supporting evidence too. Um, but I find it unusual nowadays that a totally innocent person can be in a bad situation, bad time, and bad place, and the next moment they're having to defend their innocence. They have to defend the fact that those people, alcoholics, drug addicts, um, smoking weed. Weed is still a drug. It's still under California law where they live, is considered a drug. If you drive with it, it's driving under the influence. Tobacco, even though it's legal to smoke, just like weed is, it's still considered a drug. It still can cause cancer. Um, and so, prescription drugs are still considered drugs, and that's why they're in the pharmacy and behind the drug counter, um, where they can legally sell you prescription drugs with a prescription. Where a tobacco place, they can only sell it to people, of age, and they ID, hopefully. Um, there's all these rules and regulations. So those individuals find it bizarre, weird, or strange that a person like me, who doesn't smoke, who has asthma, who doesn't want to be part of those groups, and going to their clubs, like, for example, one individual um, wanted me, they hang out at this leather club, and leather clubs, a lot of the gay communities, leather clubs are all about smoking cigars and smoking cigarettes to promote themselves as being butch. It's not my forte. I don't go there. I used to go to drag clubs because drag clubs is about entertainment and comedy, um, and that's kind of gone to the point where it's not as fun anymore. Especially if the entertainer is doing lewd stuff and doing it in front of everybody because they have an exhibitionist, kind of mentality, and that's not fun to watch. And the expectancy of going to those clubs too is that they expect everybody to drink. That's like a go-to mandatory thing when you go to a bar and you have to order a drink. And they will, and in my experience, sometimes kick you out of the bar if you don't order a drink, unless you're a staple or you know that they're you bring entertainment of some sort to the crew. They will find every which way and every um, know how to get you out of there. Or you're, the person that they sleep with the most. You're known as a slut, and you would sleep around with a lot of person. You're a barfly. You're the butch lesbian who likes to size up other people at the club. I mean, there's a lot of nasty behavior at the clubs that nobody addresses, or nobody's says it because of these inclusion policies they hide behind. Um, it's nice to have inclusion. It's nice to have those DEI policies, but when it applies to people with bad behavior and it causes the loss of business, they're not doing a single thing to stop the person because that person is either popular at their club, or they have enough friends who will boycott the facility and force them to act. So they go where the business is, and the business would be, the majority. So I want to state that going to the bars is not fun anymore because when you go to those bars, there's all that drama, that extra baggage that you didn't really ask for. And if you become a regular, then if there's any drama that happens at the club, or any incidents that happen, or you deny somebody who is also a barfly, it becomes an issue. I used to go to this club called 1220 all the time in Walnut Creek, and it was a drama fest there. And on top of that, they worked at the Rainbow Community Center, which tried to kick me out because they tried. I was a volunteer there, and I was a very good volunteer. I would volunteer all the time. I would help with all the events. I was really close to the drag entertainers there, to the point where they were training me, and I quit drag because of this. But they would, after you had a falling out with their most popular entertainer, they'd cut off all opportunities for you. They make sure that you didn't get hired. They make sure that you didn't have a voice or a say in the club at all. Um, so when I went to that Rainbow Community Center, I was also told that I could be. They had a disabled group right down the hall. They said I wasn't welcome to come back to their facility, but I can go be with my kind, the disabled. And and this is after I had a suicide attempt on myself and was hospitalized. They said I was too angry, and I was always uncomfortable, or I just was always a bad energy at their facility. So they told me to go be with the disabled kind. They called my therapist to see, and that was the only way I could come back, is if my therapist would talk to them. And my therapist had to get my permission too. My therapist never said that he wouldn't be willing to work with them, but he also has worked with a facility several times, and he sees several clients who have received bad service from the Rainbow Community Center. So the Rainbow Community Center, there was a public article that was just made about the backstabbing that was going on, the racism that was going on, um, and the two-faced thing with the leadership, which I experienced firsthand as a volunteer, and I wasn't even an employee. And it led to a whole domino effect of them trying to ruin my life, my gay life especially. It's hard enough as gay individuals that have problems at home, but it made it worse there. And on top of that, the people there at those support groups were always trying to say that your family was bad, and my family wasn't bad. They were just trying to, manipulate me and brainwash me to feel like, I had this horrible family because they didn't accept certain aspects of me, especially from the trans community. And they were, trans people who are transitioning, or youth who are into heavily involved in the youth group, and trying to get me to be the bad guy for somebody who didn't believe um, in transitioning until you were of legal age and could make life changing decisions for yourself. And, you know, I believe in God, and I believe that God makes you a certain way. So apparently I'm at fault. There was this one girl, one trans individual named April, who just had it out for me from day one. She would always talk negatively about me. She would always talk bad about me. She would gossip to everybody else, and male transitioning to female. Um, Skater type, was skater boy that turned into a woman. Um, was dating another woman, so she identified as straight and became a lesbian. And I just don't feel like, in that sense, I don't, I understand inclusivity applies to that, but how can you be a biological something? You're straight, you're biologically a male, you're straight, and you're coming into our community because they slapped you into the group with us, and you're telling us that I don't belong there because I have a disability. And on top of that, I was a leader in the group, a leader in the group and I was a marketing chair because I had a marketing background. And I tried to make this lit mag, and I tried to include somebody who was very hardworking in the lit mag and was very, um, she was driven to get this thing going. And then they elect somebody else who had a popular voice with promises that he's going to make changes to it. And he wants to go in and demolish everything she's done. And she has a huge issue with it. And I start advocating for her because she bit more work in than anybody else did. And we wanted to make this magazine go. And this guy, because he had some marketing background, big deal. You got hired at a marketing place and you had a background, but you didn't do very well in the business, and you pretty much wanted to destroy, take over, and put your own flair to it. I mean, and then when we tried to get the guy who was attendance to be there, they told him he didn't have to be there because me and him had some falling out where I was trying to be his friend, and he thought I was trying to hit on him. I drove him to the center one time. I took him to get the subway one time as a friend, and he thought I was trying to get in his pants. And I just asked him one time if he wanted to go hang out one time. It wasn't a date. And he just told me in a message how not into me he is. So I think, what gay individuals do, and this is my personal experience as a person who's involved in the community, what they do is they add bitchiness and sassiness as a form of being brutally honest with somebody. And when they're brutally honest with somebody, they don't know the repercussions it could have or the consequences of their actions could have. So there's domino effects. Yes, the person was, not showing up for attendance. I told them, this it wasn't the only incident. Every meeting he was not showing up. And he was not showing up because I was present. So I had to be excluded from the group because he was, elected official and wasn't doing a job. On top of that, there was another person that was supposed to be handing out the flyers, but because his family wasn't accepting of him and his sexuality, he wasn't doing any work. And all his task was to do, and he was part of it, and he wanted to be part of this group. and he, was elected as a person part of this group, was hand out flyers. So it's hard for me to sympathize and show sympathy for these individuals who go out of their way to manipulate and groom and lie their way to the top while they sit there and shun out the underdog, somebody like me in a group, just because I had a disability. And they accuse me of being angry all the time. It's probably, and a lot of that too probably is because I'm an Irish redheaded individual.